It is now 7 p.m. and time to call the Monday, March 6th, Westfield, Washington Township Advisory Plan Commission meeting to order. Will staff please call the roll?
Kristen Berkman.
Here.
Matthew Deck.
Here.
Robert Horke.
Here.
Mike Johns.
Here.
Jenny Kelleher.
Here.
Andre Maui.
Here.
Victor McCarty.
Here.
Dave Schmitz.
Here.
Cindy Spoljaric.
Here.
Full house. First item to dispense with is the approval of our previous minutes of the February 6th APC meeting. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 6, 2023.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Matt Deck and a second from Cindy Spoljaric. Will staff please call the roll?
Yes.
Matt Deck.
Yes.
Robert Horke.
Yes.
Mike Johns.
Yes.
Jenny Kelleher.
Yes.
Andre Maui.
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Dave Schmitz.
Yes.
Cindy Spoljaric.
Yes.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. Next is review the rules and procedures for tonight's meeting that include one item of business and no public hearings. We should have Pam record this.
I appreciate your patience. Please do
You
not.
can't do any worse than Kevin did.
Thank you. All right, rules of conduct. Please do not disrupt the proceedings in any way. If you need to have a private conversation, then we ask that you please quietly exit the room. Please silence your devices at this time. If you must answer them, then please quietly exit the room. If you are attending in person and wish to speak in regard to a petition scheduled for a public hearing, then please line up along the west wall once the public hearing is open. Please sign the speaker sheet as you approach the podium to speak. For efficiency purposes, we ask that those representing a group speak first. These are all public comments for public hearing matters, and this isn't a public hearing. Do I read all of this? Okay. All right. During your comments, please state your name and address into the microphone for the record. We ask that you do not repeat previously stated comments. Your presentation will be timed, and you will be advised that there are approximately 30 seconds remaining. If you are not attending in person, if you are not attending in-person comments regarding a petition, they should be emailed to planners@westfield.in.gov with the petition name or number included in the subject line. Those comments will be forwarded to Plan Commission members and the petitioner. We would like to remind everyone to please speak directly into the microphone so your comments can be put onto the record. Also, please mute your microphone when not speaking. If you come up to the podium to speak, please ensure that the microphone is on as indicated by the green light on the base. Thank you.
Thank you. There is no consent agenda item to act on tonight, so we'll move into our one and only item of business. 2201-PUD-01, the Westfield, Washington Schools PUD. Staff will provide us an intro, and then the petitioner can make comments of whatever sort if there are any intro comments from them.
Thank you, President, members of the Commission. For the record, Ryan Collingwood with the Community Development Department. The item presented before you this evening is the Westfield Washington Schools PUD. As you may recall, this proposal is for approximately 96.5 acres at the northeast corner of Centennial Road and State Road 32. The petition encompasses a change of zoning request to permit the future development of school facilities. The petition had a public hearing at the February 6th APC meeting and is before you tonight for a recommendation to the City Council. Matt Skelton of Churchill and Antrim is here tonight to present updated details of the project. He is available to answer any questions, as am I, should you have any for staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Skelton, the floor is yours.
Good evening, members of the Plan Commission. For the record, my address is 116 North Union Street here in Westfield. With me this evening is Brian Tomomichael with Westfield Schools, Assistant Superintendent. I'll just jump right into updates. I think you're all relatively familiar with where we left off at your last regular meeting. There are three notable changes in the PUD ordinance, one of which comes in response to a request we received to add some images of existing school facilities that indicate the quality of the architecture that will be used on the site. We have done so. Those have been incorporated into the PUD. Secondly, it was brought to our attention since the last meeting that there's a little bit of ambiguity about the extent to which the city's lighting standards might apply to institutional uses. And I think it was our assumption that they would. But to be clear, the staff had requested that we incorporate language that makes it clear that they do, so we have. Lastly, there's one item that was added that creates an effective date for the ordinance as of the date the Westfield, Washington Schools, the title is transferred to Westfield, Washington Schools. And we've discussed this item with the city in some length, and I'm going to defer to Kevin, of course, but I do believe we're all on the same page with this.
Yeah, I mean, I can confirm that we've spent quite a bit of time with the petitioner working through this language, and we're comfortable with it as it stands.
And the reason for this addition is really due to the somewhat unique nature of this proposal. As you will recall, this real estate is currently zoned Town Road Crossing PUD. It locks in some older, less restrictive zoning ordinance standards. Additionally, it provides for some heavier intensity retail and multifamily type of uses. And by approaching the zoning the way we have, where we're basically doing away with all of that and replacing it with basically school use and AGSF1 if the school was not to use the property, it has the effect of really devaluing the real estate for any purpose other than for the school. And so our seller is requiring us to provide assurance to them that the impact on that value does not happen until after the close. So this has probably never come up again, but that's why it's in there. And just incidentally, we are planning to close on the property later this month, actually. That concludes my remarks, and I would appreciate your favorable consideration this evening and happy to respond to any questions.
Thank you. Commission members, do we have any questions, comments, or whatever for staff or the petitioner?
Jump in. I appreciate the upgrades for the pictures. I know we all knew the school was going to do a good project, but I think it's nice to have pictures like everybody else has, so I appreciate those. And also the lighting standards.
Sure.
And I hope if there's some people in the audience here who were against this in the beginning, your explanation of we were going to have retail hotels and stores and gas stations and everything there initially, we'll understand that this is probably a better use than that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Can I ask one question from staff, maybe? Given that this is remating the Ag SF1, we're not tying the actual concept plan. It doesn't have to be developed as the concept shows. And I'm not seeing buffer yards, but it's ag against ag, correct?
Cindy, the buffer yard would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, not the zoning, but the use. It's required for a use, not the same zoning. So being an institutional use next to an ag use there.
That is correct, yeah. Now that you mention it, institutional use is called out separate from AGSF1, so that would take precedence.
Right, so there would be a buffer yard required. I think it's minimal between an institution and AGSF1, but I believe there would be one.
Yeah, I just thought about that right now, because this is not something we typically do, that we see a project like this. So
The underlying zoning would be AGSF1, and I don't have the UDO in front of me, but I think for an institutional use, it can be reduced to 20 or 30 feet or something. And I can't imagine the school building.
No. We're not proposing to modify any of the standards
Right.
applicable in that respect, but this is really no different than any other, almost every other school site, unless it's in a PUD for some reason, is probably zoned AGSF1. That's why it's a permitted use in AGSF1.
You good with that?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just wanted to know, I guess,
Okay.
as we move forward, what to expect.
Thank you. David?
Matt, was there any additional conversations with NDOT or with the city about transportation issues, cuts to 32? and
I
so
guess we did talk about that, didn't we? Do you want me to comment on that, or would you like to? I mean, I think the city has a strategy. We have not spoken with NDOT yet, and I don't know that we're proposing anything at this time that would involve them. But they are part of the normal technical advisory review of any development plan, but you may have other comments.
Yeah, not a lot to add there, other than, yes, community development has had conversations with Public Works about this project, just so we're all kind of in the same understanding about the nature of the project and the nature of potential future road infrastructure needs. So they're very much aware of this project and are planning accordingly. And that's correct. Any interaction with NDOT will come down the line with the development plan and plating.
And it's not really part of what's in front of us for recommendation tonight anyway.
Right, and I think that in pre-APC meeting, you mentioned that you were considering a right-in, right-out off of 32 if that worked for NDOT too.
Yeah, and probably at a minimum, I mean, I think that would be a hope that we could at least obtain an additional cut, but yeah, I don't know that this is reflecting that, and that's okay. It doesn't have to. I think if we're able to get an additional cut on here, I mean, I think that would be desirable, but you know, we can't speak for NDOT, so I think a little hesitant to show that on a plan at this point.
Right, but that's what you're working on anyway, so.
Anything else from anyone? If not, we're looking for a motion for a recommendation to council on this. Do we have one?
I will make a motion to forward a favorable recommendation to City Council for item 2301 PUD 01.
I'll second.
Is that for you, Victor? So we have a motion from Matt Deck and a second from Victor McCarty to send a favorable recommendation. Will staff please call the roll?
Kristen Berkman,
Yes.
Matthew Deck,
Yes.
Robert Horke,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Jenny Kelleher,
Yes,
Andre Maui,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Dave Schmitz,
Yes.
Cindy Spoljarek.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you, folks. Thank you. All
Send-
other items on our agenda are continued to a future meeting to be determined. And therefore, we are at reports and comments. Is there anything from a plan commission member that needs to be brought in front of the rest of us tonight? If not, is there anything?
Sorry, I got a quick
Oh,
comment.
you do have
So
something. Thank you.
I had to miss the last meeting due to a schedule conflict with work, and so I watched the YouTube video. And first of all, I appreciate being able to do that, so kudos to everybody who makes that happen. But I gotta tell you, I had to crank the volume compared to where I do all of my normal Zoom and Teams and every other meeting all day long, all week. So just a reminder to everybody, speak directly into the microphone. Those YouTube meetings are really hard to hear. I don't know if you've watched them before, but we hear it at the beginning every time, speak directly in the microphone. I think we all need to work on it, so that's just a reminder.
Good one. I have watched, but I honestly, I'm not sure I perceived the significance, but I didn't watch last week because I was here, so. Might have been more unique to the last meeting. Is there anything from the downtown to update on?
So MKSK is finishing up the 90% drawings. And so as soon as they do that, we will have the plan of, the actual plants and landscaping and that type of thing to share. So I'm hopeful by, we'll probably have workshop next time, maybe the April meeting, that we'll have something to look at.
Okay, look forward to that. Takes us down to city council liaison. Is there anything relevant to report on from the last council meeting?
Sure, I'll give an update on our February 27th meeting. Judy Shuck gave a lovely presentation about the Underground Railroad in honor of Black History Month. Jonathan Nail gave an update on the State Road 32 project with 90% of the plans complete and submitted. The bids are being opened for the construction demolition March 15th, and construction letting is in October. The current total project cost, not including streetscape elements that Kristen just mentioned, approved separately, is about $22.5 million now. And Jeremy Lawler gave an update about that 32 streetscape project with MKSK, and hoping that that will come in under $4 million. Council did not approve the mayor's appointments to the Historic Preservation Commission, citing potential lack of qualifications as prescribed by ordinance, and hopefully this will be rectified soon. The abatements for 3 shell buildings at North Point were approved, and we also approved the appropriation for the infrastructure improvement funds, which were the repayment funds from the loan that was given to Grand Park years ago. And those will fund those streetscape improvements, as well as the $770,000 for the purchase of the property next to city services. And we approved a resolution concerning the national opioid litigation. There's been several of these that will come through, and we're getting bits of the settlement, if you will. This one was with Meyer. And so it enters us into this settlement agreement with plenty of other communities. So this is our second pass at that. So that was approved, that was it.
Excellent, thank you. There was no BZA meeting, correct?
Correct.
So no report there. There was no plat committee meeting, so no report there either. Community development, you're on the clock.
Yeah, so we are anticipating a workshop meeting at your next meeting, which will be March the 20th. We have a couple of items coming back for discussion, also hoping to get a little bit of educational time in that meeting as well. So as soon as we get the agenda prepared, we'll let you know. But yeah, we are anticipating a March 20th meeting.
Thank you. Speaking of workshop meetings, there were 2 items that we deferred to staff to handle in the past workshop meeting due to that conflict with some political future importance. I assume both of those things were approved. There wasn't any change in that?
Well, ironically enough, they have not quite yet been approved.
Oh.
They're still working on revisions. So we've gone back and forth, I think, a couple times since then. So what seemed to be an urgency has
Wasn't
not
so
panned
much
out that
after
way.
all.
So
So we may have those in front of us in 2 weeks.
we will still, well, I mean, delegation has still been, we can still report on it. We're happy to do that, but
Okay.
I think delegation has already been granted to staff, and I don't know if we can undo that at this point, but
Oh, all right.
we will certainly report once they are completed.
Excellent. There's nothing further. It's time for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion from Victor. Do we have a second? We have a second from Kristen Berkman. We're all here, so we can do this by voice vote. Everybody in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Meeting is closed at 7:18.